Okay, so in this example, we're going to be dealing with again one variable, but this time we're going to be looking at a continuous variable and creating some histograms with this variable. Okay, so we have the same transactions data as last time. Just load that in and let's view that. And again, you can see we have purchase information, satisfaction, repeat, whether repeated or not, gender, and income. And what we want to do is we want to create a histogram using income. So the first thing is like the manual method, and then I'm going to show you the ggplot method. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to create our bins for the histogram. And it's basically the bars. So we're going to basically create a bar for every 50,000 of income. So we have these incomes 0 to 50,000, 50 to 100,000, etc., etc. You know, the number of actual groups depends on what you want to do. If you have smaller groups, you could actually get a little bit more detail, but sometimes you just get a little bit too much clutter. So it's a trade-off there. But something like income, there's no income greater than $250,000 in the data set, so that's the maximum. And we're just going in increments of 50,000. So the first thing we do is we're using the sequence command. I think I've used this once before. And here it is going from 0 to 250 by 50 means how much we increase it each time. So here we go like that. I could change that if I wanted to. If say I did by 0 to 200 by 20, then I'd get that. So it's kind of a really intuitive command. So we've defined the intervals. Now what we could do is, again, I think we used the cut command before, is basically we have our income data, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut the data by the intervals. Let's just have a look at this command. And we also have a few other things. So we also have, for example, left and right. And this just include basically whether the low values and the high values of the interval should be included. This is just kind of, it doesn't really matter apart from the boundaries. So we've got from basically the left is not included. So if we have an interval from 50 to 100, 50,000 is not included, but 100,000 is included. I guess you have to be careful here, because if you put both as true, then you get an observation in both intervals. Anyway, so let's just show you what income.cut does. And it's basically every income observation in the data set. We've got my data, $income. We've put it into the interval. So everyone is now, rather than being number, it's assigned to one of these intervals. And you can see the left, this little means kind of an open bracket. We're not including 50s. And this means a closed bracket. We are including 100s. Now we can use the table command just to find the frequencies now. Now we've got it into the categories. So we use table on income.count, and we get income frequency. And there we go. So we get a frequency for each of our intervals. And you can see that most people are in the 50 to 100. That's the kind of the median bracket is 50 to 100,000. That would be expected. We've seen it down there. We don't need to view it. And we could do the same. We could use prop.table we've done before to get proportions. So now we've got the proportion in each income category. Okay, and what we're going to do is we could actually create a histogram. And this time what we do is there's lots of different ways of creating a histogram. You could send it the interval width. So I'm just sending it these breaks. So all I'm doing is I'm passing it the income data, and I'm also passing the original intervals. I'm not passing the derived frequencies, but the histogram function could actually work this out itself. So We're passing the income, and we're passing the intervals. And again, it's just saying we're basically including, if it's like 50 to 100, we're including 100 in the bar. Give it a title and give it a color. There we go. And there we have our histogram. Okay, now let's look at the ggplot. I was just updating the labels there. So the ggplot, again, just to get familiar with, as I've said before, this is like it's entirely programming language. So for most of this class, you'll probably just be kind of copying and pasting and making slight alterations to other people's codes. So we pass our data. The AES contains the variables that we're using, so in this case, income. And we're going to use geom histogram. And very similar to the standard R histogram, we have breaks, and we set the breaks equals intervals, and we can put the fill color as blue. There is actually a color, but the color is like the outline, so we're not going to bother with that. We're just going to do fill, then we do GG title, histogram for the income variable, and the label. And as we did last time, we're going to make it black and white theme, and we want to put the title in the middle. Okay, so pretty much the same thing, just a slightly different. Now we could actually put a color equals black. Let's just see what that does. Playing around ad hoc. And you can see that gives us the outlines of the bars if we want the outlines of the bars. So the color actually does the outlines and the fill does the inside. Okay, so that was the book example for creating these little frequency tables for continuous variable, doing histograms, and I added a little ggplot version.